Alright, welcome back. Getting back to work on this little S10. I got my steering shaft basically done. I'm going to go ahead and put it up in the air, make sure my pitman arm and idler arm are incorrectly, well, install them and make sure they're incorrectly. And after that I can verify where my steering wheel center is. I will index my steering wheel to the steering gear. And then my steering wheel will be centered when I'm running straight down the track. I still need to find my right belt, but it's like anything, we'll get around to it. So the manual pitman arm is shorter than the power steering pitman arm, and the big ends are different sizes. So we're going to use the manual pitman arm. Because the manual pitman arm is a shorter length, the idler arm is also a shorter length, so you need to use the manual steering pitman arm and the manual steering idler arm from a 64 to 67, if I remember right. Chevelle A-body. We found a Moog one and it's going to work just right. The height is also different. It's going to raise this center link up a little bit, but that's okay. It's not going to hit anything. Where's my nut? So you can see the difference in length. You're going to travel at different sweeps. These holes are too small for the bolts from the S10, so I'm going to ream them out with a drill bit to make them fit. Not a big deal, we'll just make the hole bigger. Alright, so I opened up my holes in my idler arm. Now that should work. Looks like I need to tweak that just a little bit. Looks like I could just put a shim on the upper. Kind of rotate it down. The inside of the frame rail is different on the S10 than the 64 to 67 A body, so creates a little bit of an alignment issue, but I think it'll be alright. So we often talk on this channel about the good, the bad, and the ugly. What I'm running into here is not ugly, it's bad because I ordered parts and they're incorrect for the application. What I did was I was like, well, you know, the first gen A bodies, all that stuff would work. The big ends are the correct size. But what happens to happen is that they're SAE for the first gen A bodies, and these are a metric setup. So the little ends are my problem now. So the 64 to 67 A body stuff fits the Saginaw box, but it doesn't fit the metric center link. So to solve that, I'm going to get a 78 to 87 G body, pitman arm, idler arm, and center link, and we're going to see if we can make those work, and then we'll go from there. Because, you know, you try something, it either works or it doesn't. If it doesn't work, you try something different. Now, I could absolutely take all this stuff out of the front of this car, drop probably another 17 pounds, and put in a manual, what is it, Pinto or Mustang 2 rack, manual rack. And there are conversions out there available for that, but they're pretty spendy. They're $900. Granted, by the time I'm all done now, I'll have $800 or $900 in this front end because I screwed up. But maybe you could probably do it for $500. But the nice thing about this is it's all bolt-in, factory original type stuff that just you unbolt it, you bolt it in. If it goes bad, you put another one on it. Whereas the weld-in rack system is exactly that. It's weld-in, so you're going to be cutting, you're going to be fabricating, you're going to be TIG welding components into the frame. So for a starter rig, you got to start somewhere. You don't necessarily need to start with the biggest, best stuff on the price list. Just, you know, get it to where it works and move forward. So with that, I'm actually gonna work on the headers and the fuel line and my coils, and then I will put this thing outside until the rest of my steering components come, which will be in a couple days. But that's all right. At least I'm making progress. Let me get some welding done, and we'll hang these headers in here and work on some coils. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Cleaned up real nice in our vapor hum. It's a wet media blast process that basically gives you a clean, peened surface. It's glass media and water. Works really good. We're real happy with the machine. We use it quite a bit. So I lopped this factory brace off, and I'm going to clean up these sharp edges, and then we'll get this installed in the car and figure out what kind of a belt we need to use. Found a belt that works. 6PK 1700 works perfectly. It's almost too short, but I was able to slip it on over the water pump pulley. So I think we're good with our serpentine belt. I've already got my headers built and my tubes kicking the exhaust out in front of the front tires. I decided to use some unused real estate, and I'm going to mount the coils under the HVAC cowl because he's clearly not going to be using wipers on this. Let's make some space. What do you want to bet I'm about to break my pilot? Just broke my pilot. I knew I was going to do that too. I did it anyway. That's dumb. It's hard to use a cutting hole saw on an irregular surface. Like over there it'll probably be fine. Well, now I need to get a new pilot. Bummer. Oh, it's also grabby. double bag it. Oh, crap. Man, I'm having a rough day. Oh, not very exciting stuff, but it's all got to get done. I'm pretty happy with my coils stuck in the cowl. I think that looks pretty cool. I'm getting ready to make my custom plug wires, which I will loom straight down and underneath the headers. That way I don't burn my plug wires. Rerouting a fuel line over here. I moved this down and over to get. That way I've got some room for the plug wires to flow. And I didn't like, this line was kinked over real bad, and it was kinked, so I was afraid it was going to have a fuel starvation issue. And then I can just route the hoses over onto the frame rail, and that'll give me a nice clean install on those without having to, like make new lines or anything. Just using what he's got. Keep it simple, so to speak. Wow, those are really long. These are the ICT billet plug wire kit for LS. You can plumb them anywhere. Pretty cool. Kind of expensive, but they're readily available and they're plenty long. You can put your coils anywhere. Now, the manual Saginaw box has a smaller big end than the power steering box, and that creates a problem when you're trying to switch stuff around. So I ended up using I believe it's 78 to 88, whatever the year span is, of the G-body, Malibu and whatnot, and that pitman arm fits the manual gear and it fits the S10 center link. It's also the same length as the S10 idler arm. So the factory power steering pitman arm, you can see, is shorter than the G-body arm by, I don't know, ½ inch maybe. And you can actually see it's actually the same distance shorter than the factory S10 idler arm, which I thought was interesting. Now you look at the factory G-body pitman arm, it's the same size as the factory S10 idler arm, and the S10 idler arm is identical in length and sweep to the G-body. The center links, I'm going to open, I got a center link as well, I'm going to hold that up and make sure it's the same, because I think it's the same as well, which basically means you just need the G-body pitman arm and a manual box to do a manual steering box conversion on this, which gets rid of like 18 or 20 pounds, something like that. It's a lot. I got these parts from Southwest Speed. Yeah, see, the center links are a different width, so the G-body is like 2-3 inches longer on each side, so you have to use the S10 center link along with the S10 idler arm or the G-body idler arm, either one, and then you use the G-body pitman arm. Problem solved. Big end's correct. And the little end's correct. We got a winner. Let's let's get this thing put back together and make it steer. It's considerably wider. So from this joint to this joint is the same, but then the G-body's clearly a much wider car because you got, I don't know, 5-6 inches difference in width on the passenger side. Pretty cool. With that being said, I'm going to reinstall his old idler arm because it's in good enough shape. Alright, so our front end situation is resolved. We've got full sweep without any issues, without any contact on the subframe. We do hit the chain, although that's at full lock, so I'm not too worried about. Oh, we're going to cut that off probably. It is at least with a bolt through it. Bolt and then some weld. Probably not optimal. So what that is it's a chain that you link to your engine so that the engine doesn't pop out of the car when you're under load. Old logger chain trick. Alright, what's next on my list of stuff to do? I need to put an O2 bung in it, and I need to build my plug wires. Let's build our plug wires. And I can put on my fitting for my rear brake line, which means I can bleed my brakes then as well. Perfect. That little guy, I had to order him special. Holy cow, I even did it correctly. Tighten those guys up and bleed this bad boy. So you can see that this ICT billet custom LS swap wire kit comes with straight 45 degree and 90 degree boots. I decided I'm actually going to use the 90 degree boots, which allows me to take the wires straight down the firewall, and then they all come up from underneath the header tubes, which will keep them away from the heat, the farthest away from the heat, and that should work pretty well for me. So I'm going to start making some wires, and then I have to do coolant and hose clamps, and I don't know, I'm sure there's something else, but that's pretty close. It's about ready to go on the alignment rack. So 2, 4, 6, 8 wires go down behind the cylinder head, come up from underneath underneath the headers. Looks good, it's clean, it's out of sight and tidy. It needs some looms put on it, but I'm going to let the owner do the looming because he'll probably want to put his own color and touch on that, or method. You can use zip ties, and they make these little billet clamps that work really nice. They're like 20 bucks, but that's money I'll let him spend. I'm not going to spend that money for him. So let me get the other side done, and then we'll move on to other things. This is my last one.
This is me working.
This is you working? Sure are a bunch of guys salty about what the heck does that guy do there? Like, why does it matter?
Two things we need to talk about. What does that guy do there? And yes, I currently have a ponytail. Well done. Well done. Does that guy ever turn wrenches? Listen, when we get to the point where I need to turn wrenches, something has gone drastically wrong in this shop.
Well, howdy, 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 ho. I think.
Did you do a thing?
I think I did a bunch of things. We've got to figure out what we're going to do with the coolant sensor for the MSD box.
Let's bleed the brakes.
Yeah, let's bleed brakes. Let's get that done. You can do it! You can do it. Ooh, I hear it. Where's it? Do it again.
I'm still going out. Probably
Oh, that was loose. Right off the bat.
I'm still working. If anybody's curious, still working.
Every car is different on how to get into it. That's why it won't start. Plugs are carbon fouled. I'm gonna pull plugs out and clean them up. All right, I cleaned all the spark plugs. I checked my wiring. I think my coils are wired correctly. I don't know. We'll figure it out. See if this thing will fire and run now.